Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Build a Better World Using Social Good Innovation Teacher Camp. This is our second session, and so we are so excited to talk with you about our next phase in the design thinking process. So we can go into the next slide.
So what we thought we would do first is to sort of recap last week's work and last week's activities. So last week we went through a little bit of overview on Packful in general and kind of dove a little deeply into the understand phase. So the activity that we asked everyone to do last week was to go into Packful, create a project, and complete one of the understand activities, spending as little time, or, we're asking everyone about an hour outside of class. Oh, hold on one second. I'm sorry, I'm not sharing. Thank you, Alina. I apologize. I knew I'd forget something. How about now?
There we go, yay.
Thank you. So apologize for that. So we are asking folks to go in and create a project and go and explore the understand activities, find one, spend a little time completing it and submitting it to us. We did get some submissions, and I got notes from some people that said, listen, it's a busy time right now and a lot going on, and I haven't been able to get to it. Is it okay if I turn it in late? And the answer, of course, is yes. We are here to just, learn this stuff and work on it together. There's no we're just trying to shoot a little bit when we say by Tuesday. Ideally, that's just in case it gives us a little time to give feedback and that sort of thing. But the truth is, we'd rather have people do some things a little bit late and kind of go through it with us as best you can, even if you can't spend as much time on it as we've asked. It's all fine. We're working on this together. So there's no wrong or bad thing. So we would love to still see the activities from week one. Although as we get to the end of today, we're going to talk a little bit about week two activities too. So they're going to start to pile on. So today we are going to discuss the Ideate phase of design thinking. And as mentioned previously, while we're discussing these phases in a particular order throughout this camp experience, the light gray arrows, which this also exists in Packful, the light gray arrows behind them remind us that there's really no specific order for creating innovative solutions. We often start at the understand phase because it kind of helps frame the problem. We move into ideation, then prototype and pitch. But the truth is that in a lot of these processes, and you may find this with your students as you work with them, they may start in one place and you might actually want to send them back to an activity from an earlier phase or even forward to a later phase, and that's totally okay. So we're just talking about these in this particular order. Within the Ideate phase, students will learn how to clearly state the problem they are trying to solve and then brainstorm solutions. So the goal is to create as many original and unique ideas and then narrow down to the best one. And I'm going to show the video that also exists in the explore step of the Ideate phase. So students will see this too. I think this summarized, we have these in all of the phases, and they're a quick way to kind of summarize what the phase represents and kind of set the stage. So I'm going to play that.
Now that you understand the problem, it's time to ideate and come up with solutions. At first, you might be overflowing with ideas, or you might have trouble coming up with ideas. The first step of ideating is to stop, catch your breath, and clearly frame the problem into an actionable question. For example, how might we provide flood victims clean drinking water in order to prevent illness? This question will guide your project so you're all working toward one goal. Next, you'll go broad and brainstorm many solutions, tapping into your creative confidence to boldly share all your ideas. Even if you think some are bad, all ideas are valuable and have the potential to spark new thoughts and solutions. To get to one great idea, you need to start with a lot of them. Once your team has lots of ideas, you'll go narrow and pick the best ones based on their innovativeness, usefulness, and your team's skills and resources. Picking the best ideas can be tricky since you might disagree. It's okay. Disagreements are normal in teams. You can work through them by talking until you reach a compromise. Your best ideas will emerge when you're sharing thoughts and working together to create a solution for your question. It takes teamwork to make the world a better place.
So our videos, our learning content, and all the things we talk about actually sort of support that team-based concept. I know that in camp, most of you are working individually, and that's totally fine. You may also discover that you have situations where students do work individually, but we really believe in the team-oriented methodology here. And so even our videos and learning content and materials all sort of support that. So I'd encourage you to think about it in that way.
Now that you understand the problem,
Apparently he wants to tell me twice, sorry. Within the Ideate phase impactful, the activities are divided into 3 separate categories. And so these are intended to, as the video suggested, do that whole piece where a lot of helping support the brainstorming and then ultimately narrowing it down. That's the whole part of this ideation phase. So the activities that students are presented with impactful are divided into these categories, framing the problem overall. So they've gone through the understand phase in theory. Now it helps them sort of frame that a little bit more specifically, then go broad to develop a whole bunch of ideas, and then ultimately narrow in on one that the students, that the team wants to pursue.
The first activity in Frame the Problem asks the students, how might we? And so in this activity, they come up with a question to help place their research problem into perspective. For example, they could say, how might we design a tool for flood victims that supports having clean drinking water in order to prevent illness from unsanitary drinking water? I know it's lengthy, but it helps them to actually think through the process of, what are they actually doing? Who are they helping? What's the need and what problem are they addressing? And why is this even important? So it does all of that literally into one phrase and one sentence, I should say, which is pretty helpful for them. Because ultimately, the way that students frame the question determines the kinds of solutions that they will come up with later on. Now, the next set of activities are Go Broad, and this allows students to really freely brainstorm and share their ideas with their teammates. So let's take a look at activity 2, Brain Dump. This is a fun way for students to come up with all those wild and crazy, and we emphasize wild and crazy, solution ideas that answer their previously created question, how might we? So students can use virtual sticky notes such as Stormboard, Jamboard, Padlet, and others to complete this activity. And this is just another reminder that in our curriculum, we do have tech tips and some cool apps that students can use to help them go through this process. In activity 3, Brainwrite, students will record their ideas on a virtual sticky note and share them with their teammates for elaboration. And so this is really a great collaborative opportunity for students. It helps them to really expand their ideas with each other. And then the final Go Broad activity is, which is one of my favorites, the worst possible idea. And this is where students can really get creative by coming up with literally the absolute worst ideas. And this activity helps to take the pressure off of students. It allows them to become more adventurous since they know that their ideas won't be criticized. Sometimes students are very timid and they're like, I don't want to share because is this going to be a bad idea? Well, this activity helps to relieve that pressure. And so by discussing the bad idea, students can actually analyze why that idea is problematic, and they can talk through how turning those terrible ideas into actual good ones. And I have a short story here. When I was coaching our robotics team at my school for the first robotics Lego League, I remember we had a challenge. It was specifically around creating solutions for astronauts who were in outer space for long term, really addressing the issues that they dealt with. We had to come up with these creative solutions. And so I remember, having a small group with one of our teams. We had 2. And I just remember my students, it was the end of the school day. They were looking at me like, like deer in headlights, like we don't know. I'm like, come on guys, come up with these ideas, come on, come on. And it was like pulling teeth to try to get, you know, these ideas from them. And so when I, you know, as I looked through this curriculum, you know, I said, you know, like that activity, worst possible idea, is really a cool one, because I'm pretty sure that would not have been my experience. I'm sure if I told them, well, give me your worst ideas, I probably would have had like a ton of life from them. They wouldn't be just looking at me. So that's a really cool idea that I encourage to do. Okay, the next set, or the final set, is go narrow. And so now we, you know, we have all these broad ideas. Now we're trying to narrow it down into one. And so the next activity that we have is the sticker dot voting. And this is where students can post their ideas on virtual sticky notes, and then they vote on the best ideas. So students can even color code their votes into categories such as most liked, most creative, most realistic, or really any other ideas that they can create. So this is just a cool digital way to do that. The next activity is the 4 categories method. And this is where students will fill out a digital 4-column chart with categories: rational choice, most likely to delight, darling, and long shot. And so here's an opportunity for them to really discuss with each other the best ideas, and they can, you know, narrow it down from there. And then last but not least, we have activity 7, go narrow sanity check, which includes a digital chart that provides students the opportunity to ask thoughtful questions. It makes them consider like things that they should think about as they are evaluating whether an idea is a good one to pursue or not to pursue. Because considering whether the idea is plausible, feasible, or innovative can really help them to narrow down the best ideas. I can remember in our Teen Innovation Challenge that we had, one of the teachers shared like that their students were coming out with these like far-fetched, outlandish ideas, you know, their solutions. And so they were like, how do we, you know, kind of reel them in? Well, I feel like this activity, you know, the sanity check will help teachers to help them to understand like the types of ideas that they can come up with that can actually be implemented. But we appreciate all those wild and crazy ideas though.
Yes, we do. I wanted to just take a moment. This wasn't in our plan, but I did want to just take a quick moment to sort of remind folks, once you are impactful.
Hey, Elaine, I have a question.
Please.
Oh,
Since I'm looks like I'm I have the only one with an apple today. I'm going to ask the teacher a question. Are all of the activities that are you described here and executed, like call them the not selected ideas and the brainstorming and all that stuff, does that all get archived within the Packful project archive folder or whatever it is?
That's an excellent question. Monty, did you want to?
Yeah, I mean, so Tom, the way one of the, and this will, I know you were unable to join us last week. We did a little demo last week too, but I wanted to kind of go through. One of the things that happens is when students work on an activity, and I'll show you here, this is an example, this is a project in Packful. They'll go into the Ideate phase. There's this learning content, that's the same video we showed earlier. Here are all the activities that they get to choose from. And I wanted to point out one thing, this is for everyone. In the Ideate phase, we generally ask students, you as an educator can decide what you want, but we do put some directions at the top that we do ask students to complete, you know, one activity from each of the groups so that they have an opportunity to go through them in there. But to answer your question, once they document, so they'll complete the activities, and the activities, you know, they've got little videos and sometimes there's templates that they can click on in order to copy them and do them. When they submit those activities for to their teacher for feedback, they are linking documents or file, any kind of file. They can go into Google Drive. They're linking those things to us. And so Packful maintains the link. We know about them, but we don't actually copy the data or student information.
Okay.
Okay.
When
But
you
as
say student information, you mean like student generated data or files or that kind of stuff?
Right. So the students, when they're working on these activities, they'll typically, it depends on the activity. They might create a Google Doc or a Google slide deck, or frankly, they might just have, like in the understand activities, if they did a recording, if they did an interview with somebody, it might just be like an MP3 file. Those things can all be put into Google Drive and then linked as evidence of the work that students have done for that phase.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Sure.
awesome.
Which leads us to the week 2 activity this week that we're asking all the participants, you guys, and even those of you who are unable to be with us today. We'll send this out via the community and via email. We are asking you to go through and take a peek at the ID8 activities, find one. Again, in the real world, we would ask students to probably do 3 because there's a benefit to looking at them in those ways. Find one that sort of resonates with you and try to do the best you can and submit it to us with Impactful, submit it to us for feedback, and we'll get that feedback back to you as soon as we can. So again, kind of what I said earlier, we're asking everyone to try to do that by Tuesday, but this is a really difficult time of year. A lot of people are on vacation and stuff, so do the best you can, and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
So with that, I will open it up to any questions or comments, Tom, that you may have. And we can kind of go from there. If you don't have any questions about the Ideate phase, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and stop the recording for others. But if you do have questions about Ideate, please let us know.
No, that's great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, fantastic. Thank you all for watching. Again, a little shorter this time, but we're looking forward to working with you. And again, if we can help you with your efforts or your please just reach out and let us know.